Hi guys, it's Justin. For my first video, I wanted to talk to you about something that's currently trending in the media and on the internet, and that's the situation in Libya. Everyone from the Pope to John Boehner has weighed in on this situation, and it's gotten a lot of support and aggression from both sides of the spectrum, as well as nations around the world. Libya is an African nation lying west of Egypt and north of Sudan. Currently, Libya is split between two factions. To the west, much of Libya, including the capital of Tripoli, is ruled by Gaddafi's regime. To the east, seated in Benghazi, is the National Transition Council of the Libyan Republic. France and Portugal currently support this faction as the ruling party of Libya. After Gaddafi decided to crush the rebels to the east of Libya, the UN held an emergency summit to create a resolution to prevent this. The resolution, a no-fly zone, prompted the US, France, and Britain to enter into Libya to stave off Gaddafi's forces. This resulted in an airstrike just outside the city of Benghazi, as well as against Tripoli, and multiple airstrikes over the past few days. Gaddafi has already proclaimed victory for Libya and asked the Muslims of the world to come to his aid. He's called this a new crusade by the West, invoking something of a holy war. Now, you must understand, Gaddafi has in the past been a big supporter of terrorist networks. For this reason, there's been a lot of tension between Libya and the other nations of the world. Gaddafi is not actually a terrorist. He's a despot. He has a military, though it's weak, and many of his colonels have denounced him over the past decade. But he does have a military force, and his strikes, if they do come, will not be against civilian centers like the World Trade Center. He's much more likely to go after something like Pearl Harbor. A military strike from Libya, should it happen on the US, would not happen in civilian territory. It would much more likely be a military strike against a military base. Obama launched the airstrike without the support of the Congress. After pressures from France would no longer allow him to waver, he sought the support of the Arab League and the United Nations. Now, this has of course created a backlash, both from the American people and from politicians in Washington. John Boehner recently wrote to Obama expressing his extreme disappointment that unlike his predecessors, i.e. Bush in the Iraq War, Obama did not seek any approval from Congress. Now, this is a violation of the 1973 War Powers Act, which is mostly used by liberals as a way to bear down on Republican presidents during times of war. But that all went out the window when Obama decided to drop bombs on Libya. Go figure. So now that we're deep into this, you would think that maybe the president would pull out with some sort of a plan. Entry strategy, exit strategy, any sort of strategy. You know, like the liberals demanded from Bush for so long. Obama has instead decided that the US needs to step back and hand this over to France, Britain. He's pretty much put the issue up for sale. Might I add that many nations are actually opposed to this, unlike the war in Iraq. China and Russia have both issued statements that we need to pull out. And the African Union, who initially backed the no-fly zone and UN resolution, has been called on by Gaddafi for help. And in a response, they took to the fence on this one and have sided with China and Russia, asking America to pull back. Even the Pope has weighed in on the situation, saying we should watch out for civilian lives. I want to kind of draw some correlations for you because the liberal hypocrisy has been driving me mad. They were screaming like banshees about the Iraq War, but with Libya they seem to be rationalizing Obama's stance. Now, there's not much of a difference here. Let's understand. First of all, though, I want you to know that Bush jumped every hoop the liberals threw at him. They demanded a UN resolution. He got the approval of the UN. They issued a warning that if Iraq did not allow the weapons of mass destructions inspectors, that there would be consequences. Bush happened to bring the pain. Whoops. He also brought that pain with congressional approval, as demanded by the liberals and the 1973 War Powers Act. Not only that, but he entered into this war not alone, as the liberals like to say, but with the support of 40 nations behind him. The difference between that war and this war is tantamount. For one, while Obama did seek a UN resolution, he never sought the support of Congress. Rather than seeking support within his own nation, Obama felt it was more important to go to the Arab League and the United Nations. Having the support of about, I think 4 or 5 countries altogether. Iraq war, 40 countries. Obama's war, 4 or 5. Big difference. Congressional approval, no congressional approval. The only similarity here so far is that they both had a UN resolution. What I'm saying here is, while the liberals went screaming about Iraq, they're saying nothing about Libya, without an entry strategy, an exit strategy, or any sort of a timeline, all of which were demanded from the Bush administration and provided thereby. We also need to be on the lookout for some forms of international backlash. With revolution on the rise in nations like Yemen and Iran, as well as the country of Jordan, we are now looking as though we back the rebels in all of these situations. Yemen, the second most powerful nation in the world as far as arms are concerned, is currently squashing its own revolts and is not so far away from Libya. Another Muslim nation, they may come to the aid of Gaddafi. We really have no clue. Other nations like Iran already don't have the best relationship with our country. We don't want to spark an international backlash, especially with our troops spread thin in countries like Afghanistan and Iraq. Might I add that Congress gave vast approval for Obama's stand in Afghanistan, which he is not getting for what he's doing in Libya. Some may say this is about liberal politics, but it's really about wartime issues. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're informed, and I hope you come back for more. I'll see you next time. Hey, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, J. Michael Heilig, and don't forget to link to my blog, Politify, both in the description.